Her best friend turned into her worst enemy. You won't believe why. African Moonlight Stories. Chapter 1. A Bond Forged in Childhood. In the heart of an African village surrounded by rolling hills and whispering savannas, two girls, Zola and Amani, were inseparable. They grew up chasing fireflies, playing in the streams, and sharing dreams under the bright African moon. Zola, the more daring of the two, always pushed boundaries, while Amani was the nurturing, cautious friend who ensured they stayed out of real trouble. Their bond was more than friendship, it was sisterhood. Amani often said, "Zola is the fire, and I am the water. Together, we balance each other." But as they grew older, life began to test their relationship. Zola dreamed of leaving the village and becoming a renowned fashion designer in the bustling city. Amani, on the other hand, wanted to stay and help her family, tending to their farm and starting a family of her own. Chapter 2. A Dream Come True. When Zola turned 18, her dream started to materialize. A wealthy benefactor who visited their village was charmed by her sketches and offered to fund her education in the city. The entire village celebrated, and Amani, although heartbroken to lose her best friend to the city, was genuinely happy for her. Before Zola left, she gifted Amani a beaded bracelet, saying, "This is a promise that I'll never forget you. No matter where I go, you are my sister." Months turned into years, and Zola thrived in the city. She became a rising star in the fashion world, while Amani remained in the village, quietly supporting her family. They exchanged letters at first, but as Zola's fame grew, her responses became less frequent until they stopped altogether. Chapter 3. A Sudden Return. One quiet evening, Amani was shocked to see Zola stepping out of a shiny black car in the village square. Zola was dressed in a flowing dress that screamed city sophistication, and her face was adorned with expensive makeup. The village buzzed with excitement. Zola had returned home a successful woman, but Amani noticed something unsettling. Zola's once warm and humble demeanor had been replaced by arrogance. Zola embraced Amani, but her words carried an edge. "You've grown, Amani," she said, looking her up and down, "but you've stayed the same, still a village girl." Amani laughed it off, but a pang of hurt lingered. Zola had changed, and the connection they once shared seemed to have vanished. Seeds of betrayal. During her stay, Zola began a project to modernize the village, offering to build a fashion school and hire villagers to work for her. At first, it seemed like a noble gesture, and Amani was proud of her friend. But as the project progressed, Amani discovered unsettling truths. Zola's plans included seizing communal land without proper consent. This land was vital to the village's farming, including Amani's family's livelihood. When Amani confronted Zola, she was met with dismissive laughter. "You're thinking too small, Amani," Zola said coldly. "This village needs to evolve. Sacrifices must be made. But you're taking what doesn't belong to you," Amani argued. "You're betraying the people who raised us." Their argument turned heated, and Zola's true colors emerged. She belittled Amani, calling her jealous and accusing her of not understanding ambition. Chapter 5. The Betrayal. One fateful day, Amani discovered that Zola had bribed local officials to approve her plans. Furious, Amani rallied the villagers, sharing what she had uncovered. The villagers were heartbroken but hesitant to stand against Zola, who had brought fame and opportunity to their remote corner of the world. Zola, feeling cornered, lashed out at Amani. "You've always envied me, haven't you? You couldn't stand that I made something of myself while you stayed here in this dusty village." Amani, with tears streaming down her face, replied, "I never envied you, Zola. I loved you, but the person you've become is a stranger to me." Chapter 6. The Moonlit Revelation. One night, under the full moon, the villagers gathered to decide the fate of the land. Zola arrived, defiant and unapologetic. Amani stood before her people, pleading for unity and justice. Suddenly, an elder, who had been silently observing the feud, stepped forward. He told a story about two stars in the sky, one that burned too brightly and consumed itself, and another that shone steadily, guiding travelers through the night. "Zola, you are the bright star, but your light has blinded you," he said. "Amani may not shine as brightly, but she has always been a guide for this village." The words struck a chord. Zola, faced with the weight of her actions, broke down in tears. She apologized to Amani and the villagers, promising to make amends. Chapter 7. Rebuilding Trust. It wasn't easy, but Zola worked to regain the trust of the village. She scrapped her initial plans and started a new project that honored the community's needs. She donated a portion of her earnings to improve farming methods and build a small school for children. Amani, though cautious, forgave Zola, and their friendship began to heal. They would never be the same as they once were, but under the moonlight, they found a way forward. Epilogue. A lesson learned. Years later, Zola often visited the village, no longer as an outsider, but as one of them. Amani remained the steady presence she had always been, a reminder that ambition must be tempered with humility and love. The villagers often retold the story of Zola and Amani, calling it the hyena and the moon. It became a cautionary tale about the dangers of losing oneself in the pursuit of success and the power of forgiveness under the unwavering light of the moon. Moral: true success is not measured by what we achieve, but by how we uplift. Months passed since Zola's public apology and her pledge to mend the broken trust. The village was cautious, watching her every move. Zola, once prideful and dismissive, now walked with humility. She spent her days working alongside the villagers, learning their struggles and listening to their stories. The land she once sought to seize was restored to its rightful owners, and she funded sustainable farming programs to support the community. Amani, while forgiving, remained guarded. Though their friendship showed signs of repair, the scars of betrayal lingered. One evening, as the moon hung high in the sky, Zola approached Amani near the stream where they had played as children. "Amani," Zola began hesitantly, "I know I've hurt you, and I know it may never be the same between us, but I want you to know how much I value what we shared. You were the sister I didn't deserve." Amani looked up at the moon, its light reflecting in her eyes. "Zola, trust takes time to rebuild. But tonight, under this moon, I'll start to believe in you again." They sat in silence, letting the sound of the water fill the gaps where words were not enough. A new beginning. Months turned into years, and Zola's actions proved her sincerity. She turned her success into a platform to highlight the beauty of her village, attracting tourists and investors who respected its traditions. The villagers slowly embraced her again, their earlier anger melting into pride as Zola became a bridge between the modern world and their cherished way of life. Amani, on the other hand, thrived as a leader in the village. Her wisdom and resilience were celebrated, and she became a guiding figure not only for her community, but also for Zola. Together, they created a balance Amani, the heart of the village, and Zola, its voice to the world. Full circle. One night, under the same moon that had witnessed their childhood dreams and their deepest rift, the village celebrated the harvest. Zola stood at the center of the festivities, her heart full of gratitude. She approached Amani, holding out the beaded bracelet she'd once given her. "I kept it all these years," Zola said softly. "It's my way of promising you again this time. I'll never betray your trust." Amani smiled, taking the bracelet and slipping it onto her wrist. "Welcome back, Zola. Not as the star who burned too brightly, but as the steady light we all need." As the villagers sang and danced, Zola and Amani joined hands. Their bond finally healed under the glow of the moonlight.